It's Tuesday, May 13th, and you're listening to the Passions Podcast episode overview. In the first half of today's show, Eve seems rather elated that the baby has been born, while Julian is still withdrawn from the whole situation. Eve asks to hold her new grandson, and Vincent is less than cordial, making her promise to be a better grandmother to his child than she was to him. Reluctantly, Eve agrees. Julian lies, saying he feels he's coming down with something and he doesn't want to get the child sick. Eve moves to check on him and criticizes him for the way he's acting and how it's affecting his son/grandson. She goes on to state that the child is physically fine and Vincent's issues is because of his lack of upbringing and that his mental/physical disabilities stem from his time with Alistair. Vincent corners them both, asking Julian in turn why he doesn't love their baby. Vincent says that the child needs love and is enamored by how gorgeous their son is. Eve pushes Julian into doing what Vincent wants, even if he has to lie about how he really feels. She plays on his emotions, telling him not to take his feelings for Vincent out on a poor innocent child. Vincent allows Julian to hold him, as Julian struggles to contain his discontent with the situation. Eve and Vincent are pleased with the new development, while Julian tries to contain his rage. Julian insists that this child will have all the amenities as a crane, and that they need to start with registering its birth. Eve and Vincent are adamantly opposed, and Eve reiterates that to do so, the truth about Vincent's death will come out. Vincent agrees and states that he will not allow it to happen because of the crimes he committed. Julian reiterates that all parents have to make sacrifices for their children, and Vincent is heartbroken over the news. Julian goes on to state that this has to come out, assuring him that they'll take his mental state into consideration for leniency. When he moves to call Chief Bennett, Eve plays on the fact that Julian fathered his own child. Paloma is still quite frazzled with what she saw in Tabitha's living room. Noah insists that it probably came from the stress she feels over their relationship, combined with Teresa's recent death, but Paloma assures him that what she saw in that glass was very real. Paloma remains confused, saying she's not sure about anything, and Noah responds that they, as a couple, are the one constant in each other's lives. He then wonders if Paloma is making an issue about something that isn't even there, and Paloma tries to talk herself out of what she said, stating that it must have been her imagination and the stress must be getting to her. Paloma and Noah start to make love, until the Book of Disaster ruins their coupling by its sparks literally tearing them apart. Tabby worries that what Paloma saw in the broken glass was real. She also worries that it is a prediction for the future, and feels remorse for Pilar's family. Tabitha is annoyed by Paloma and Noah's affections with one another, saying that it's worse than couples on Valentine's Day. She reiterates that Paloma and Roberto remind her of hot, steamy nights with Zorro, which undoubtedly took place in her 300-plus years of witchcraft. She reminisces of memories past and watches as the Book of Disaster starts to ignite in flame and smoke. Tabby wishes that there was more that she could do in the wake of all this pain and heartache that evil is about to invoke on Harmony. She ponders whether she should leave town with Endora, but her curiosity as to who the next victim of evil is keeps her here in Harmony. Pilar informs Agent Henderson to inform her immediately of any news regarding Juanita. Once the phone call is ended, we see that Juanita is very aware that the agent has been in contact with Pilar, who assures her henchman that the agent is the key to finding her arch-nemesis. She once more vows that in the end, Pilar and her family will perish. The agent worries for Pilar and her family, hoping that Juanita isn't alluded to their whereabouts. Upon hearing a noise, he corners Juanita and her henchman. As Pilar is once again trying to reach the agent, the sound of his cell phone results in Juanita once again escaping from the authorities' grasp. Pilar worries about Juanita, wondering how dangerous Teresa's actions can be. Via flashback, she reminds Teresa that the last time Ethan ended up drunk, she got pregnant with Jane. In the present time, Pilar frets over the thought of Gwen figuring out what Teresa's motives are, and or walking in on Teresa in the act. Gwen stumbles into the living room, and Pilar attempts to act surprised. Gwen interrupts her, telling Pilar that Teresa is back, while Pilar attempts to appear devoid of any emotion. Pilar insists that Gwen sit down, while Gwen is adamant that Teresa is alive. Pilar feigns an attempt at being surprised, while Gwen goes on to say that Teresa is very much alive and in her old room with Ethan. Pilar reminds her that Teresa is dead, and it's all Gwen's fault. Gwen attempts to turn the sordid tale around, saying that Teresa was responsible for her own actions. However, none of that matters now because Teresa is alive and making love with Ethan at the moment. Pilar reminds her that she is drunk and not making any sense, while the fact that Ethan and Teresa are making love upstairs finally sinks into Gwen's head. She urges Pilar to come with her to see the proof. Juanita runs from Agent Henderson, who is close to catching her. They narrowly escape his clutches, while Juanita's henchman assures her that they're safe. For now. Ethan and Teresa continue with their lovemaking. Throughout the course of the act, Ethan remains confused as to whether it's a dream or that Teresa may be a ghost. Gwen wobbles into the bedroom, drunk, and vaguely is able to make out Ethan and Teresa on the bed. She frets, insisting that this nightmare must be a dream. Ethan and Teresa continue making love throughout the first half as Gwen watches in wonderment. She assures herself that the woman in question has to be Teresa. When she gasps, both Gwen and Teresa lock eyes, as Gwen insists it's a vision that her subconscious is showing her to punish her for Teresa's death. Teresa rejoices as Gwen grips the wall, happy that Gwen is drugged out because she won't remember seeing her, let alone watching as she makes love with Ethan. Gwen insists that this vision can't be real and wonders if the doctors will lock her up in a padded room again while a dead Teresa makes love to her husband. Gwen stumbles out of the bedroom, reassuring herself that this vision isn't happening. She reiterates that Teresa is dead and that she must be hallucinating because there is no way that Ethan can be making love to a dead woman. Teresa urges Ethan to live in the moment, while she herself remains giddy that Gwen, at the present time, can't hurt her. Later, after their coupling, Teresa watches Ethan as he sleeps. She reminds herself that it was worth the risk and that it kills her that she has to lie to him.